Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Not Invited to the Party and says me, 26 female, with my friend's girlfriend, 25 female. She wants us to leave our house so she can host a small party with her friends. If I read that right, bloody cheeky so-and-sos. It starts, my boyfriend and I been together for 2 years. Bought a house about 6 months ago, and we've been renting out the spare bedroom to his best friend. We'll call him James. We also have a 5-month-old puppy who we got when we bought the house. James has been with his girlfriend, we'll call her Amy, for a little over a year now. She's at our house very often, and we don't mind her being there. Amy is nice, but she is very socially awkward. My boyfriend and I have tried to get to know her, but she shows little interest in us. She never talks to us unless we say something to her, and oftentimes she shows no interest in getting to know us. Sometimes she doesn't want to say hi to us when we come home. Amy has a group of friends who we've hung out with once before, but it was hard to have conversations with them because they were all high at the time. We weren't, by the way. We didn't budge, but it was hard to have a conversation with someone who clearly wasn't in the right mind to respond. But ever since then, she has never invited us to go out together ever again. We just chalked it up to her being weird and just left it at that. James is aware that she is very particular about who she hangs out with. A few days ago, James mentioned that him and Amy want to have a get-together with a few friends at our house on Wednesday night, yesterday, and wanted to know if we're okay with that. My boyfriend and I didn't mind, because the guests are Amy's friends that we met once before. We just told them not to get noisy and to clean up afterwards. I came back from work last night and people were just starting to show up for the party. I briefly say hi, then go upstairs to freshen up. Then Amy comes into my room and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, but we actually want some privacy for the night. Do you think you and boyfriend could go somewhere for a few hours?" I was confused. I told her that James asked if it was okay to have a party and we all agreed, but nothing about us not being allowed in the house. She said that James should have made it clear. I told her I'm sorry, but I can't. I have to take care of the puppy, and there really isn't a place I can take him for a few hours. Her response, "Oh, you can leave him here. We really like the dog and we'll take care of him." I told her I wasn't comfortable leaving the dog with strangers. She wouldn't give up. I simply told her no again, that she and James are free to have friends over, but that she can't expect us to leave our own home and our puppy behind. She seemed frustrated, especially when my boyfriend came home. I kept the puppy in our room most of the time. We have the master bedroom and it's pretty big. I told my boyfriend of the situation and he was pretty confused by it as well. The party went off without a hitch and everyone was fine. Or so we thought. James texted us this morning telling us that Amy was really upset that we ruined her party and humiliated her in front of her guests. Apparently, when we first hung out with her friends, Amy was upset that we didn't make an effort to get to know them. She said that we weren't very friendly to them and that's why she couldn't bring us around anymore. Except when we first hung out with them, they were high and couldn't even muster a response to us. But that doesn't matter apparently. Amy didn't want us hanging out with her friends because she didn't think we'd get along based on that one time. James is asking us to cut him a break and apologize to her because she's been having a rough time and really needed this party to relax. Absolutely not. I told James it doesn't matter how rough her life is. It's extremely rude to tell us, the homeowners, that we have to vacate our own home so she can have a party. My boyfriend also reiterated this to him in a separate text conversation. I told James that if anything, Amy should apologize for how rude she's handled this situation and how rude she's been in general, citing the past few times we've tried to be friendly to her, but instead she gets coldness in return. I told him I'd only accept an apology from her in person because all this is coming second-handed from James. Amy is not saying a word to us about this. Whether I like it or not, James is still dating Amy and there's nothing I can do about it. Amy will most likely be around pretty often because she lives with her parents. But I don't know how to defuse the situation going forward. Am I in the wrong here? How do I handle Amy in the future? I'm not sure what the sort of legalities of this sort of stuff are when someone's paying rent. or it's just down to a contract or an agreement you write up at the start, but this is your home. Amy has no right to demand anything. At this point, if she's going to come in with this kind of attitude with me in my own house, I'd be saying she's just not welcome over anymore. Simple as that. Bloody cheeky so-and-so. The dog bit did make me chuckle though when Opie said that they can't leave the dog and because they have to take care of the puppy, etc. and there isn't a place to take him for a few hours, and she responded, "Oh, you can leave him here. We really like the dog." It kind of just felt like, we really like the dog, but you two, you need to piss off for a couple of hours. Yeah, absolute cheek of it, right? But a commenter said, "Easy peasy. Either limit Amy to no more than 2 nights a week, or she pays rent, or banish her altogether. And under no circumstances is she allowed to invite people to your home. If she wants to entertain, she will do it in her own home, even if she lives with her parents. She's not so socially awkward that she's above taking advantage of someone's kindness. Edit. And the more I think about her being rude to you in your own home, where she is a guest, the more pissed I get. I lean more and more towards banishment." Stephanie says, "Let's get this straight. You own your home that James rents a room in. Amy does not pay anything towards her use of the house, as she does not live there. Amy demanded use of your home because she felt you were rude to her high friends. Now James has his pants in a twist because Amy thinks you're being inconsiderate for not vacating your home, so she, the only one who actually doesn't live there or pay rent, could use it. Use. She's a user. She should not be welcome in the house if she thinks it's appropriate to behave like an entitled brat. James can pull his head in. He just rents the room. He doesn't have the right to tell you to apologize to his bratty girlfriend, and you owe her nothing. Tell James that his lease won't be renewed, and until then, Amy is not welcome in the house at all." So there was a lot of people telling Opie to evict James as well, and Opie responded saying, "A lot of the comments are telling us to evict James, but I don't agree. James and my boyfriend have been lifelong friends since childhood. Their mums have been friends since grade school. My boyfriend had some really rough times growing up, and James was there to support him. Because of that, and the fact that James is in a tight spot financially, my boyfriend rents the room to James at a lower rate than normal. Our area is very expensive. Given their history, I don't think he has the sort of heart to kick him out with nowhere to go over something he didn't do. I don't feel it's right to evict James for something Amy did. James is very timid and soft-spoken, and Amy is pretty much the opposite. Not to mention, James has been in some pretty dysfunctional relationships, and Amy is really the only relatively good relationship he's been in. I feel he's only sticking up for her for fear of being lonely and single again. My boyfriend and I don't think she's right for him, but who are we to tell him who to date?" So the update came in and said, "First off, thanks for everyone and their advice. I didn't think this post would get as much attention as it did. A lot of people were angry for us, and it was nice to know that I wasn't being unreasonable. This update isn't quite as dramatic, but I figured people would want to know our resolution. A lot of comments were saying that we should evict James, but I wasn't okay with that. As I said in the comments of my last post, James is a childhood friend of my boyfriend. Their mums have been friends since grade school, and he supported him through some rough times growing up. Money is a little bit tight for James, so my boyfriend wanted to help him out as much as he did for him. We also didn't like the idea of banishing Amy because we inadvertently would have been responsible for ruining their relationship, and we didn't want to deal with that. On Friday night, we sat down with James and Amy to talk about the situation. We told them that we didn't appreciate being told to leave our house and our dog behind so they could have a party. James had only given us a heads up that they would be having friends over, and nothing more. Amy interjected and said that we were the ones being rude and that we should have left because they should be allowed to have friends over because we have people over all the time. Well, that's true. We never asked James and Amy to leave. In fact, we invite them to hang out with our friends when they come over. Amy said that we couldn't have stayed and hung out with our friends because she didn't think that we'd get along that well. My boyfriend and I are working professionals in good career fields, and our friends don't make as much and smoke pot all the time. We told her that we don't judge our friends and we don't care. We have all been at that point in our lives, so what does it matter? It seemed like she was embarrassed to bring her friends around because all of our friends are equally as successful as us. She didn't think that we would associate with, in her words, people like my friends. Again, we don't care or judge. It seems like she has more of a problem with her friends than we do. Amy herself has a successful job and career, and she lives with her parents. I don't think she has any money troubles. She then went on to say, James pays an equal share of the rent, so we should be able to use the house equally. Wait, a share of the rent? We told Amy that we own the house and that James pays to rent the room. It turns out that Amy didn't know that we were the homeowners. James, before moving in with us, was living in another city 3 hours away, which is where he met Amy. He moved out here after getting into grad school in the area, and Amy followed suit about a month after because we live in her hometown. She assumed that James and us were renting the house. James never told her the nature of his living situation because there wasn't any reason to tell her since she wasn't living there. She tried to explain her way out, but there really wasn't anything she could say after that. James, in the midst of all this, grew pretty exasperated with her. He was trying to be a good boyfriend by lending his support and keeping her happy. But when everything started to unfold, he started getting pretty tired of her excuses. He apologized to us and also to Amy for not telling her about the living situation. But we were right. She can't kick us out of our own home. We all agreed that we don't have a problem with them inviting her friends over. In fact, we actually do like them, but we never get to talk to them. And that they are always welcome as guests. But if she wants to have a private party and not invite us, she is free to do so, but it would be better to not have it in a place we live in. Amy eventually apologized, albeit a little begrudgingly. But it seems like she's still angsty about her friends rather than the party situation. Either way, we made it very clear that we are the homeowners, so hopefully this doesn't happen again. Thomas says on the back of this, even if you were both renting and paying equal half of the rent, it'd be wrong to ask you to leave so they can have a party. That's just wrong no matter how you slice it. Another commenter says it'd be the same argument she used, just directed back at her, who has no standing since she doesn't live there. Beers Yummy says yeah, that keeps jumping out at me too. Why on earth does she think she's entitled to anything? She doesn't even pay rent at all. It's not her place in any stretch of the imagination. Capsule says, in quotes, he apologized to us and carries that on, and then says, he really should have done this sooner. James knew you guys own the house, so he should have told her right away that she can't kick you out. I don't think he didn't tell her because there wasn't any reason since she wasn't living there. He didn't tell her because he didn't want her to know that his friends owned the place and not him. Some stupid ego thing. He was hoping you guys wouldn't sit her down and tell her, but clearly he miscalculated. Opie says if I had to guess, I think James did tell Amy, but he has a tendency to not explain things in great detail. I can see him saying, yeah, I'm living with my best friend, I'm renting a room in his house, and she could have misunderstood that, thinking it was a sublease or something. K-Rad says, I think you're still allowing yourself to be steamrolled a bit here. Sounds like she's just going to keep being resentful towards you, which isn't something you need under your roof. Just try to keep in mind moving forward that she has no more excuses. Rudeness, entitlement, manipulation, all of these things she's guilty of, and that she can no longer fall back on ignorance as an excuse. Sounds like you don't want to punish James, and for whatever reason, you don't want to show Amy how serious you are. But I sincerely hope that if she ever tries to pull anything remotely similar in the future, you'll stop pulling punches and tell her that she is no longer welcome in your home that you fucking own. Opie responds saying, I don't see how I'm being steamrolled here. We sat down with her, laid it all out, and told her that she can't kick us out of our own house. Sure, she may be resentful, but she technically isn't our tenant, so I don't see how that's a problem for us. In my opinion, evicting James, banishing Amy, or doing anything to show them how serious we are would have solved nothing. If anything, it would have caused even more resentment. To me, resolving a situation like this means getting everybody to understand and compromise, and not winning. If she ends up being more than a handful, we have no problem dealing with her. But for now, she knows where she stands, so we'll be fine. And there was a TLDR where OP just basically called this a misunderstanding. Oof. I wasn't sure how I felt after that, Amy still being a little bit resentful towards the end, begrudgingly apologizing, felt a bit off, and just felt almost like she was giving Amy a bit too much grace in this situation. Because I always like to think from their point of view, Amy came into the house, she didn't even own it herself. She thought her boyfriend had a part in it, but still had this entitlement to kick two people out. It's still wild in itself to me, even with that mindset. She was paying nothing towards the house. So to have this entitlement in itself was absolutely wild. And, for me, not someone I'd really want around the house. I understand where they're coming from in terms of James and they're concerned about him and his attitude. Yeah, you can say potentially he might be a doormat in this situation with his girlfriend. But they know James, they want to help him, etc., which I think is a nice thing. But I really just hope they do deal with it if Amy does overstep again, because I could see her doing so. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the relationship subreddit from I'm Not Always Crying, and it's a story that has an update from 6 years later. It's titled, I, female 26, am in love with my best friend, male 26, but he thinks a relationship is doomed to fail. About a year ago, I started a friends with benefits relationship with someone in my friend group who I was not necessarily close with. We both took it in the wrong direction by going on pseudo dates and having really poor communication skills. So of course I had to catch feelings, which was 200% not the plan. After a few months he broke it off because he said he wasn't interested in a relationship due to his life situations that he wanted to work on. I respected that decision and did my best to move on. Due this summer where he has met most/all of his life situations he wanted to fix, and we go on an international 2-week vacation together because god damn it if he didn't become my closest friend. He informs me that he doesn't want to date me because he believes that we would only be happy for a year and he would remain in the unhappy relationship longer than he wants to because he doesn't want to see me upset. Seems like a bullshit answer, but whatever, I can just squash those feelings deep down, never to be seen again. It worked for a while as I tried my best to date someone else and find a connection akin to what my best friend and I had together. In the last few weeks though, I have found that despite dating other people in the meantime and talking myself out of feelings for him, I can no longer deny that I may actually be in real love with this dude. The realization came when we talked about the possibility of moving in together with his other roommate in order to save on rent in the city. When I thought about him bringing other girls back to the shared space, I immediately got the foreboding pit of jealousy feeling of hopelessness. We had a 30-second talk about it, why it wouldn't work, and how my jealousy was my problem and not his, in which he did agree that we had amazing chemistry, would be good for each other, truly cared for me, and that the sex had been great. Again, he brought up how we would only be happy for a year and that it just wasn't worth it. So my dilemma is it selfish of me to ask for our one good year? The more he talks to other girls and sets up other dates, the more I feel like either way I'll be losing his friendship. We spend a significant amount of time alone together, but always as just friends. He's someone I want in my life, but being stuck in this limbo is making it incredibly difficult to focus on anyone else as a potential partner. Big Bowser replied to OP saying, hope this is a lesson to not go with friends with benefits if you aren't ready for it. OP says definitely was not my first time around the block having friends with benefits. All the other times they had ended amicably, and I'm friends with almost all of them platonically now. This is just an unfortunate exception. Then, as I said, it was 6 years later that OP came in with their update and says 6 years ago I was here lamenting the feelings I caught from my friends with benefits turned best friend. Let's call him Frankie. After the initial pain of rejection, we both agreed to stay best friends. We moved in together with 3 of our other friends and lived as platonic roommates. We confided in each other all of our dating woes, cooked together most nights, and continued having fun nights out. During that time, I grew equally close to my other roommates and had a casual COVID lockdown fling with the one who is now one of my closest friends. Shocker. After 3 years of living together, I'd finally mostly gotten over my feelings for Frankie. We were both casually dating other people and in a good place. I'd spent many holidays with his extended family as his best friend and was content knowing that I had a lifelong friend. Then he had a big health scare. It ended up not being anything major, but at the time put a lot of things into perspective for the both of us. The night Frankie returned from the hospital, we had a heart-to-heart. I cried as I told him how scared I was during the emergency, and it ended with us both deciding to try dating seriously. We moved out of the group house with our friends to a small condo together. It took some time to change from an awkward platonic relationship to a truly romantic one. But we allowed the relationship to take its own time and course. It's been 3 years together now. He's currently cradling our shared cat as we plan a romantic weekend getaway to New York. He was right. After the 1-year mark, we sat and had a big talk. We talked about what each of us needed to work on to continue the relationship, instead of it being a relationship death sentence. It led to both of us getting therapy, making positive changes, and brought us even closer. We now have such open communication that even after 3 years we have not had a fight. I could not be happier to have my person, as well as the wonderful family that I now get to be a part of. I'm just surprised about the positive updates that we see coming out of these subreddits just recently. You know, they're usually pretty rare, but I'm all for it. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Have you ever had a friends with benefits situation that evolved into something more? Maybe it went wrong. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on and it will automatically scroll through all those videos for you. So if you're doing a bit of art, a bit of cleaning, whatever you're up to, it will continue to do so. Huge thank you, and I'll see you soon. Take care and much love.